Hello, and welcome to the Getting to the Heart of It podcast, where I and my guests today are going to help you get to the heart of something so that you do not have to continue running around the circle in a chaotic life. So, today, I would love to introduce you all to someone that I do life with. This is my cousin, Darnell,
Hey,
and
everybody.
we do life together. So, before we get started, is there anything that you would like to share with the people? Anything at all that's on your heart?
I'm so excited to do this with you because a lot of y'all might know I have a background in video and filming and things like that, and I have not been in front of the camera for years. So this is my first time back in front of the camera. It's been about a good 10 years, so I'm just happy to be back in front of the camera and also to be here to discuss these topics with my cousin because me and Denise, we have always every time we talk, we always have these great conversations. They're always, you know, spiritually driven, self-care driven, relationship driven, family driven. And every time I chat with her, she's like, man, this needs to be on the podcast. Like people need to hear this stuff. So I'm just happy to be here and to be able to share this with y'all.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so today, you all, it's not going to be scripted at all. We're not scripting this on purpose because when he and I get into conversations, they normally take us right into where I don't know, it just takes us into getting up to the heart of it. So I guess I can ask you, is there anything today that you kind of want to tackle or break down or anything you've been thinking about?
I think for me, the main thing today is just kind of just living full out. I think that's something that I've really been trying to, put in my life because I'm in a life transition. And I do want to shout out my girl, Lisa Nichols, because she's the one that coined that living full out. And she always says, like, when your life is over, you want to be tired. And that's like me too. Like sometimes we play it safe in life. And for me, I just turned 31. So I'm in my 30s now and just transitioning into just an adult. And for me, I'm like, yeah, it's time for me to live full out because the reality of it is a lot of people who are 30s, 31, 32, a lot of people passing away at this age. So it's like, I'm like, man, if I die tomorrow, would I be happy with myself and with the things I've done in life and my choices? And I'm actually like, no, I wouldn't be because I haven't lived full out. I haven't um, just driven without fear. I haven't really just took my feet off the break. I've been in pause for a minute, and now I just need to be in go and just live life with no regrets. Because at the end of the day, it's like when it's all over, I don't want to look back and be like, "Wow, I should have did this. I should have did that." I want to, when it's time for me to go, I want to be like, "Man, I did that. I took every opportunity, took every chance." You know, regardless of fear, regardless of everything. And my cousin Dunny, she always tells me like, do it scared. Do it scared, do it broke. She always tells me. So it's like, just do it. So that's what's been on my spirit and my heart today.
So look, first off, I want to thank you for bringing that up, especially the living the full out thing, the living full out quote from Lisa Nichols, because like there's so many of us that are not living full out. We're just living mediocre lives. And there was a quote that she said. I saw her on I think it was like a challenge with Pedro Adeo. And she was saying that she did not want to get to the end of her life and hear, well done, good and faithful servant. She wants to hear that every day. And
Yeah,
oftentimes, we're at the point in our lives, we're like, as long as I hear it at the end, no, what about now? Can you hear it now? What if now's the end? What are
yes,
we going to do?
yes. And that's the reality of it. And I think like for me being a young adult, it's just facing that reality of there are so many people that are young that are passing away. And sometimes that's a reflection. But I think the one thing that I've learned with that is that a lot of times when I see people that are young passing away, it does suck. It is sad. It's unfortunate. But for me, it's a reflection on my life. Be like, okay, it's not permanent. You see it right there. It's not forever. So what are you gonna do? Because so that's my whole thing. So whenever I see that, I just like, okay, it's time for me to live full out. It's time for me to pursue my dreams, pursue my goals. And I think for me, it's just in my 30s, just in a life transition. And I think the transition is more like career, personal, relationship, spiritually. It's like once you get to an adult, like your parents really aren't making decisions for you. I honestly, like 2 months ago, really kind of was just walking around. I was like, damn, I'm an adult. Like I make my own choices. I make my own decisions. No one is telling me what to do or how to do it or which way to go. It's up to me now. So just kind of just figuring out just what do I want from my life? What do I want? What do I need? What will fulfill my soul for me to fulfill my purpose, or what I feel like my purpose is? So that's kind of what was on my spirit today.
No, that is so good because, like, okay, so you were talking about asking yourself, like, what do I need to do so that I can live full out? And I really believe that that's going to help us get to the point of getting to the heart of living full out. Because I don't ever believe that anyone wakes up in the morning and say, "Oh, it's a great day to fail. Oh, it's a great day to do nothing. Oh, it's a great day to live the opposite of full out." Like, no one says that. So the real question we have to ask ourselves is, well, how in the world do we even start living full out? How do we get to the heart of living full out? And it's so funny because, and you can check me on this, you can say you're wrong, you're right, or you can add something to it. But one of the things that I believe is keeping a lot of us from living full out is fear. And a lot of us have fear of something, but then if we know it's fear, then it's like, well, how do we get to the heart of that? For example, I could have a fear of rejection because I never first off wanted to be a teacher because I was a teacher for 10 years. And telling that story is so crazy. Like, I was a teacher for 10 years, never wanted to do it because my mom was an elementary school teacher and she would come home and it would just be like so stressful. She would still come home with work, all the stories that she would tell me, and I told myself I'd never do it. But then I ended up having to walk into that calling, having to walk into that because I excelled in it. But then it came to the point where it's like, okay, so now I'm going into YouTube videos, podcasts, like who, me? And that was concerning for me because that was something I didn't want to do. I felt like I was too fat. I felt like I didn't look how I wanted to look. You know how it is. You always have stuff that you want to point at, excuses, and that's another part of it. But we'll come back to that later. And and then not just that, but I just had a fear of people rejecting me. It's like if I get out there, what if people reject me? And then I thought, people gonna reject me anyway.
You know
I'm
what?
going to be. Go ahead.
You know what, cousin? And sorry to cut you off, but when you said that, like, it is fear, but also it's also the fear of being seen. Also, what I noticed sometimes is like, sometimes we're kind of scared of our potential, and I noticed that with me sometimes too. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
like we're scared, like, what if I do succeed in it? Like, what if I do make it? What if I? And that sounds crazy because that should be something that's a goal or something that we push towards. But a lot of us are kind of fearful of just our own potential. And I think that's a big key to get into the heart of that as well too.
Mhm. So I'm so glad you said that. So we're afraid of being seen because of we may get rejected. We're afraid of being successful for whatever reasons. We're afraid because we're so used to what we're used to. And yes, fear is a part of it, but how does that fear show up for us oftentimes? Like one of the ways I've noticed for me is that I would procrastinate hard. I would procrastinate, and that procrastination would just be a symptom of the fear I had that would keep me from showing up the way I needed to show up. And besides procrastination, I would notice myself coming up with excuses.
Mhm, mhm.
And excuses fuel the procrastination, which fuel the fear, which keeps me
Yeah,
going in that cycle that's just going to keep me where I am.
yeah,
And I don't want to stay here. And no one wants to, most people don't want to stay where they are because we weren't created to just stay in the same whatever forever. We're supposed to grow. We were created to grow, right?
yes,
But
yes.
I get so we as people get stuck in it, and I've gotten stuck in it. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, I have to get out. If I don't get out, then I'll be stuck.
I mean, and I'm right there with you. I do agree, but also like I think for me, along with those that you mentioned, is comparison. Like I
Ooh.
think sometimes like you know comparison is like comparing yourself to other people, but also in a negative way. It's like, well, they did it, so I could never do that. Or he could be successful in that, so I know I could never be successful in that. And so I see that comes up a lot of times in
Ooh.
fear as well too. And I see it just within people that are close to me too, because like you mentioned teaching, and I'm a teacher as well too. And comparing, well he went to school, he was a teacher, so I can never be that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So I really do step that one as well too. And another way for fear for me would just be just like lack of boundaries,
Ooh.
lack of self-respect, and also self-sabotage. So I see that
Ooh.
too. Because whenever like I'm getting back, into the routine of being, getting back to the best version of myself, and I noticed that now that I'm getting to the best version of myself, that was part of my lack of self, not taking care of yourself. That's a part of it too.
Ooh,
That's a part of it too.
you punched me in the heart with that one.
Oh
Like self-sabotage and disrespect to yourself. I'm like, oh
yes.
my gosh, because most of us do that. We disrespect ourselves by not having those boundaries. But finally, I'm at a point in my life where I feel like I know that I am, for the most part, a walking, talking boundary. But there were times in my life where I was not. I was not living full out. I was not, heck, I'm not even living as full out as I can, but I'm trying to get there more and more every day, which is how we
Hmm.
should all do it.
Hmm.
But I wasn't respecting myself. I wasn't respecting the fact that I could grow. And I was just letting myself just do whatever, just be okay with whatever. Because the only reason I even had to leave my job was because of fear. But I'll never forget, I believe that God was calling me away from my job back in 2012 ish. Well, maybe not 2012, but it's been a while. I feel like He was calling me away from my job. And I remember asking, well, how am I going to help support my family as if God is not God? As if everything doesn't work out for the good of those who love the Lord.
Exactly.
And I was putting myself in His shoes. Why was I doing that? I don't know, because I'm not infinite. He is. I'm finite. So sometimes, we have to allow ourselves to be human. But the biggest thing, cousin, that I think a lot of us have to do, and this has been my mantra for the whole year, probably for the rest of my life, is self-awareness. Because the only way for us to get to the heart of all those things is that we have to be aware of it. If you are not aware of it, how do you fix it? How? Like
Yeah.
when I was getting ready to buy my house, I had to be aware that this house is for sale. I had to be aware that I could even get it. you know?
Yes. Yes. And you tell me that all the time. And like, when I have talks with you, you always be like, "Whoa, that's a good. At least you're aware of it." You always tell me like, some people aren't even aware of it, and that's the first step. And I, through my self help journey and my journey through life and my past 10 years of just figuring out who I am and trying to become the best version of myself, that self awareness is always the first step, because if you're not aware of it, you can't fix it. But also, what I learned that ties in with that self awareness is identifying it. So being aware of it, but also identifying it and being able to name what it is. So, so being self aware. So it's like, if I'm not like working out, okay, I'm aware that I'm not working out, but identifying what is that? Why? Is it I'm not working out because I'm, not in routine? Am I just too busy? Am I, just naming and figuring out just what that is? And I think that's also a good first step to move into, what you were saying.
Look, that is so good. It reminds me of this post that I posted on Facebook. Um, I can't remember exactly what it was, but look at me, I'm over here trying to find it because this is what I do. But the crazy thing is that we often don't identify it well because we're asking the wrong questions.
Oh,
Like I
wow.
was listening to somebody and they were saying something,
Mm,
but the thing is, if you want different answers, you have to ask different questions.
yes. Yes.
And we're often asking the wrong questions. So if you truly want to be able to identify, because you can feel it, yes, I'm glad you feel it. That's a part of self-awareness. But now once you feel it, you need to start asking the questions so that you can get to the heart of it. But a lot of people don't want to get to the heart of it. They just want to just barely under something. Say, okay, on to the next because I need to feel good. But it's not always about feeling good. I believe we have to ride the waves of those feelings so that we can get to where we need to go. Feelings is like the ocean that helps guide you to where you need to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel that too, just with life, like you can't know good if you never been through bad. I mean, like the yin and yang, I live by that. Like you can't like if you always getting good experiences, like it just you have to have those valleys in order to kind of know, that mountain peak. I mean, and just life, and it makes you appreciate when things are going good. If everything's going good, then you want to appreciate it. But if you had a bad day and then you finally have a good day, those bad days help you to appreciate that good day.
Yep.
So I always kind of look at that. That yin and yang stuff is real. That yin yang it's real.
I love that because because like I don't know why we do this though. Because see, first off, I know that our minds, our bodies are created to keep us safe. And for some reason, our minds feel like our safety zone is when everything feels okay to us. But I really think that we have to get to the point where we have to tell our minds, no, 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 you're okay. I have to tell myself that sometimes, like, Denise, girl, you're good. Relax. You're good. Everything's working out. Just go on with this. Because whatever we resist in life is going to keep happening. It's going to persist. It's going to keep going. So oftentimes we just have to roll with the tide. If the tide comes out, just roll with it. Roll
Mhm.
with it, and eventually it's going to go away.
Yeah, exactly what you said. Well, resist persists. because we put our thoughts into that. It's just like whatever you focus on, it manifests. So I do, cousin. I do agree.
Look, you just
You
said it.
agree?
Hold
I do
on.
agree.
So whatever you think on a constant basis, it has to manifest.
Yeah,
It has
yeah,
to manifest. So if you keep thinking these things on a constant basis, we were just talking about this earlier.
yeah. You were. Yeah.
It has to manifest. So one thing I like to tell people is, and I'm sorry for hollering at you
Fine, you fine.
and the people, but one thing I tell people is that like your results of your life, it cannot lie. Like if the apple tree is producing apples and we know it's an apple tree, the fruit cannot lie. The results cannot lie. But what makes the results for us? Like people say that life is choice driven, but I don't believe that at all. And why don't I believe that? Because there's a prerequisite to that. There's a heart to that too. And the heart to your choices are your thoughts. Your thoughts is pretty much what causes the results in your life because your thoughts are what's going to manifest in your life. But then we can even take it a little bit further. So, what creates your thoughts? The stuff you feed your mind and your senses. Whatever you feed your senses, feed your mind, and whatever feed your mind will manifest
Yes,
out
and I
there.
mean, and like I said, we just talked about it earlier because people always say, you think what you want. It was like you speak. The people used to always say like you speak what you want to exist. You speak what you want to existence. And I learned, and I spoke with you about this all the time, even this morning. It's also your thoughts too. Like whatever you think, sometimes you think things to existence too, because like that's powerful too. The mind is very powerful, and so it's just like be mindful. And I mean, I'm seeing that in life now. Now I'm in my 30s. I see how powerful just your thoughts are and thinking things into existence and also speaking to things into existence and just small things like things we don't even think about. And I tell you this all the time, cousin. I'm like, dang, I got to be careful about what I'm speaking into existence because like you said, like just said last week that I need this, I need that, and didn't even think about it. And it just, manifested. So I was like, I got to be specific because, so you got to be very specific about what you put out to the universe because it will always come back in one shape, one way, one form, or another. It will always come back.
Yep. And thoughts are things like we try not to think of it that way, but thoughts are things like, for example, the area behind yourself and the area behind me. What were these first? It was a thought, it was just something
Yeah,
in somebody's mind,
yeah,
and voila, now it's here.
yeah. And with
So that's an
yeah,
example that thoughts manifest.
and that's what I'm saying, and that really ties into the beginning of like this conversation, just like living full out in that life transition and just trying to just get in those thoughts and just kind of mapping out that mental of what you want so you can
Ooh.
manifest it. So that's where I'm at right now. So that was what was on my
Oh,
heart, cousin. So that was on my heart this morning. And I'm so grateful that we had this conversation. And I'm so grateful to, just to have this with you. And hopefully
thank
like
you.
somebody out there, can hear what we're saying and relate to it. And hopefully it can help them because that's ultimately my goal. I'm not just being a teacher, but just even just when I speak to people, is I'm always speaking to hopefully help somebody else, but also for them to help me as well too. But just hopefully these words and things that we talked about in this discussion can help somebody out there who might
Yeah.
be, going through a life transition or might just need some clarity about, why things are happening in their lives and need, to hear us talk about, hey, it's your thoughts, So I'm just super happy, cousin. And I'm so grateful that we had this conversation.
I thank you for this because, like we always say, all the conversations just about that we have a podcast worthy. So,
Yes.
so I thank you for this, and I also want to tell you this: yes, you are a teacher, but even when you are not or no longer teaching where you are at your school or wherever in public education or private education, whatever, you're still a teacher at heart, and that's something I noticed about myself. At heart, I'm still a teacher. I'm still teaching people, but in a different way, on a different platform. And I know that people probably can't wait to hear from you again
Yes.
because you shared some really good stuff with us today. And I really thank you for that.
Thank you, cousin. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And we will definitely, if it's okay, I would love to have you on another time.
Of course. Of course. I would love to be back. Yeah. I really enjoyed this. I love to be back.
I thank you. Well, people, I thank you all so much for being a part of this, getting to the heart of it, where we help you in the crazy circle of life that's just chaotic, where we can help you get back to the heart of you. And we will see you all, or at least I will see you all next time. Thank you all so much.